Hi, I'm Kenny Anderson, Director of Multicultural Affairs for the City of Huntsville, and welcome to Impact. Each week we try to bring you information about a variety of things that are happening in our community and just familiarize you with many different resources that are happening right here in this community and things that you can get ready access to. We look at these things as quality of life activities, things that improve the condition of people in our community, and we're glad that you're here with us today. I want to introduce Dr. Sylvia Collins. She is the Executive Director of the Academy for Learning and Character Development. Welcome to the broadcast today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson.
It's good to have you. You know, I've heard about the Academy for many years, and I have to admit I don't know a whole lot about it, which is a great reason for you to come on the show today because we have an opportunity to share with our listening audience and those that are viewing an opportunity to learn so much about what I know makes a big impact on people in our community, because you start at the youngest ages. You start around 3 weeks old.
Yes,
and
sir.
so you're right there at the very beginning of the process. And I know that the kind of work that you do makes a profound impact for families across the region. But I wanted to ask you, first of all, to tell us a little bit about how the Academy got started.
In 1996, I was looking for a comprehensive early educational program for my son. And I had a recipe and probably expectations that were pretty high. At that time, I had earned a doctorate in early childhood education. So I think I may have been a little over the top in my expectations. And after searching and searching, I couldn't find anything as multifaceted as I wanted. And then I slapped myself in the head and said, hey, you could do this. And that's how the Academy began.
So what is it that you found a void in? Because typically when people talk about starting a business,
Yes.
one of the pieces of advice people give is find something that you can either have a niche in or something that meets a need. So what did you think was lacking at that
Well,
time?
I wanted an advanced early education program and not just a babysitting program for him. And I wanted him to be exposed to a variety of arts and cultures and music and interacting with just a multi-ethnic group of youngsters. And our location, we're at 3807 Telstar Circle. We're southwest, and the area that we're located is right there at Redstone Arsenal. So we have access to the cultural variety because of the arsenal being there, the Army. The community is pretty diverse.
So how did you get started?
Well, that's starting with the shopping and then finding out. I'm saying, well, the building that we have is a very non-traditional building. We have 10,000 square feet, which was once an apartment, 14-unit apartment complex. And having owned that building, I searched and searched for a traditional school building, and they were just out of reach economically. They were just too cost prohibitive. And decided, well, hey, why not take this asset that I already have and convert it, perfect location, and went in. I was my own general contractor, tore the walls down, converted it to the space that we now have, that we wanted it to be. It's a beautiful space now.
So conceptually, tell me what you were thinking about. What does this space need to be in order to accomplish the goal of your business?
Lots of open space. The first thing we did was to tear walls down so that the openness would be there. And
that's a benefit for young children.
Oh, yes.
Who benefit from being in an environment where they are naturally curious.
Yes.
And they explore.
Yes.
And they look for opportunities to expand their world.
Exactly. I didn't want them confined. I wanted to confine them as less as possible. So we have lots of open space there, and sometimes it's I guess probably not the best. There are some disadvantages to that too. The coming into our door, once someone enters our door, they're right there with us. And it's kind of, we don't have time to get ready. So we always have to have our show ready for the road. We don't have the time there's no lag time. And that's it's been an advantage and a disadvantage. So, but overall, I think the space, the concept has just been phenomenal.
So programmatically, and I'm trying to understand exactly what it is that you offer the community. So programmatically, what is it that the Academy does? What do you offer to the community?
We have an excellent educational program. By the time our children are 2 years old, They are able to recognize their name in print by the time they're 3. We have goals that are set for them, educational goals that they have to achieve. By the time they're 3, they have to spell their names. They have to be able to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. They learn all the early concepts in both languages simultaneously. They learn their shapes, colors, the alphabet, their numbers, all their basic elementary concepts, early educational concepts in both languages at the very same time. And we offer sign language as well.
Okay. So how do those standards that you've established differ from the traditional standards? Like you're saying, you know, kids, I know about developmental markers. My
Yes.
background is mental health counseling. So I know about developmental milestones and markers and things like that, ages at which we expect kids to do certain things.
Yes.
So help those that may not know what we know, what the significance of kids writing their name by 3 and being able to speak bilingually,
Yes.
how that creates an environment for success for them in terms of their next step.
Very important. It's the self-esteem of the children. We have a lot of children that are in single-family homes, children that have been in domestic violence situations, children that have resided in homeless shelters, children that have had a variety of experiences that are non-traditional experiences. And under general circumstances, or I guess it's sort of a stereotype that these children are going to be the children that are going to be delayed, that they're going to be retained, that they're going to require special services. And we refute all of those stereotypes. Our children exceed our program is a school preparation program. And by pre-K, they've completed the traditional school kindergarten program. So upon entry, the biggest threat is boredom.
So you're essentially placing them, if I understand what you're saying, you're placing them and positioning them so that when they reach the standard milestones of development, that they're not just well prepared, but they're perhaps even exceeding those
Exactly.
basic levels of preparation.
Exactly.
Which gives them a foot up
Yes.
on other kids their age.
In addition, we have a cooperative learning environment. We're concerned with morals and standards as well. Our children are taught to be responsible for each other. It's very common in our environment to find out the children chant, "You can do it, you can do it." When there's a turn to respond, they're chanting on their classmate with encouragement, which is very different than everybody knows very differently than the traditional learning environment. You can remember, I guess people probably my generation can remember reading groups where you were early on designated as the high or the low reader. And pretty much that is, you stayed within that track. Everybody in our environment is in a leadership preparation program, and everybody's responsible for everybody else. And if someone doesn't know it, it's their responsibility to help them to learn it.
Where do you draw kids from?
Everywhere. Our location being there we're right outside of Gate 10 there on Patton Road in Telstar. So we get a cross section of children. The location makes it possible, which is a great teaching tool for everybody because we are a multi-ethnic group.
So do you do marketing? Do you do recruiting? Is it word of mouth? Do people see the building,
For the most part, we've been there doing exceptional job for 18 years. So we found out we have the neighbors, the friends, the family members. The bulk of the children that have attended the academy are familiar. It's pretty much like a giant family. The kids that come are there because their parents know they want the best quality education for them, and they want them to be there.
And new parents become aware of your services because they have a friend.
It's going to be a friend. It's going to be a neighbor. It's going to be a cousin. For the most part, initially when we opened, We missed some of the traditional marketing tools. We were left out of the yellow pages for a year. We've had the local pediatricians have been phenomenal for making referrals for us. We were out of the some of the traditional marketing tools. We somehow got missed in our first year. We did well between once we got started. The word kind of got out that, hey, this is a pretty super thing happening for young children. It makes everybody there is going to excel. The funniest story was one of the students that's now in college came back to visit. And he said, Dr. Collins, I can remember you reading Caps for Sale. And I said, I can't remember reading that to him, but I knew it was my favorite story, so a lot probably went into that because it's still my favorite story. And he said, you made us learn even if we didn't want to. And I thought that was hilarious for someone to say, and particularly at an adult now, to admit as a youngster that play was the primary motive on his mind.
We're talking today with Dr. Sylvia Collins. She's the Executive Director of the Academy for Learning and Character Development, based right here in our city. And we're learning a little bit about the kinds of services that you're providing to kids all over the community. It sounds like a very vibrant, dynamic, engaging atmosphere for kids to learn in, which of course I think are some of the most important essentials for young children, being who they are, being molded and shaped and having the capacity for all this development and enrichment. I wanted to ask you this because you have been at it for almost 20 years now.
Yes.
And that, of course, in itself says a lot. Continuity and stick-to-itiveness count for a whole lot these days. Children in 2014 are different than kids were 20 years ago. I mean, essentially, they're the same. We understand that from a developmental perspective, but they've been exposed to so much more. You know, 20 years ago, you didn't have the internet. 20 years ago, you didn't have cellular devices and all of the technology that we see today. And so
even their language is very different.
Language is different. Even some family dynamics have changed. Things that we saw 20 years ago beginning to develop. How have you adjusted your approach to what you do in that time? Rapid
fire. You have to have a rapid fire approach that keeps the children engaged. Anytime I constantly move through the environment saying, hey, if we lag, we lose. It cannot be any lag time. It has to be one event has to follow, very little transition time. You have to have a very stimulating. And our environment is very stimulating. We have things hanging everywhere, colors just galore. The entire atmosphere is designed for maximum stimulation. I mean, we have multidimensional objects around so that everything is designed to be very stimulating.
Yeah. And are the kids, kids at very young ages today, as I mentioned, technology, are being exposed to technology. Is that something that you're doing with kids intentionally? And what are you doing?
Yes, we do some computer instruction with them. And I just had the other experience the other day. I was working at the computer. A 3-year-old came and said, Dr. Collins, you downloading something? And I was just so amazed that a 3-year-old would ask that kind of a question. It lets me know that, hey, you better be ready, because they're definitely ready. They're ready.
Yeah. What about the social development aspect? I heard you talk about cooperative learning and that type of thing. Talk a little bit about the social dynamics that exist here at the Academy. I know you focus on character development, and obviously that involves getting along with people. We know a lot of kids today are challenged by bullying.
Oh, sure.
How do you engage kids as it relates to the disciplinary challenges?
And I want to talk about just the social development. Our whole environment is set up, structured a little differently. We play, for example, the games that we play are cooperative games. We don't have competition in our environment. We feel that they're going to get exposed to competition a lot sooner than we would even like them to. I mean, all the TV stations now, every program, if you want to go on a date, if you want The Bachelor, if you want anything now, if you want to go on Survivor, if you want a corporate job, it's a competitive situation. And we're trying to refute all of that. If you take a typical game like musical chairs, for instance, everybody's familiar with musical chairs. Our approach to musical chairs is that everybody ends as a winner. if you watch how that game proceeds, as it narrows down, it's constantly rotation of children losing one by one. When they lose, they're pouting, they go out and want to kick something.
Yeah,
it's
I've
a
been
negative.
one of those kids, so I
yes,
know that.
it's a negative. You have a negative reaction.
I've been one of those adults playing musical chairs.
Pouting.
Yes,
you pout, and it becomes a lot of a negative. It's a negative environment and a negative experience for the children. And once it gets down to those last two seats, we know what happens. You're trying to pull that seat out from under the next your opponent. You're trying to sit down before the music is actually stopped. Well, what we do when we play musical chairs is we take the chair out. The only thing that's coming out of the game is the chair. All the students stay in. And our game ends with you have to find a lap to sit on. Mm-hmm. Your friend has to take you in and try to hug you and hold on to you. Mm-hmm. And the game ends in laughter. We all are falling to the floor because one person can't possibly hold everybody. And then everybody ends that game as a winner. Oh. We don't have to worry about what the child is engaging in that's been put out of the game. And everybody stays together. We still maintain control. And it ends every time the same way. It just all kinds of laughter, and we're falling to the floor laughing at and trying to hold on to each other. So our whole structure and how we go about interacting with each other, we try to make it as positive and a positive experience as we possibly can.
Right. Well, how do you deal with discipline issues? How do you deal with inappropriate behaviors with children?
Ooh. And we have, don't let me mislead you, we have lots of those situations. But our first responsibility is to teach. We have to explain that the biting hurts, that the hitting hurts, that you have committed a transgression against someone else, and that's not acceptable behavior. We have to promote compromise and negotiation, skills that are going to be utilized as they try to proceed through life. So our first response is to educate. After it becomes clear, after a warning that this is unacceptable, and we watch our children very, very carefully. We don't even handle them all the same. You lose a privilege. We have kids that just love outside. They're waiting for that outside time. They come to school for outside time. Hey, we know that's what will motivate you to engage in more self-control. Then we let you know, we warn you, okay, if you want to repeat this offense, you're going to lose this privilege. And then we make sure if you're knowingly repeating an offense that we've warned you about, then you will lose that privilege. And that kind of responses to that kind of behavior motivates them to engage in more self-control.
What about parental involvement?
We ask that our parents to volunteer at least 1 hour a month, and we don't care how they volunteer. If they want to come on a field trip on their day off, some parents are just not inclined to work with children. We are totally okay with that. We say, okay, then we'll sit at your computer and identify potential grants out there, and if you alert us to these grants, then we can proceed to engage in writing for them. So we have their involvement can be at whatever level they'd like to have it in. We don't
select that.
Yes, we're not going to force people to engage with children that don't really have that interest and motivation to do so.
Right. I think that's good because it kind of recognizes different gifts.
Yes.
Different levels of interest and different abilities, and everyone's not equal when it comes to those things.
Sure,
So
and if you want to make copies, if you want to, whatever you feel that you could do to support us. Hey, you want to save bottle caps for us? You want to help on our fundraising efforts? We have a multitude of ways that we could utilize assistance, not only from our parents, we accept volunteers. We love to have volunteers to come in and help participate in our program as well.
Right. And you do have a regular fundraiser that, at least one major one that allows you to be able to generate funds as a 501c3.
Yes.
To be able to get community buy-in and invest in this product.
Yes. And we'd love to have people to contact us. Every year in May, we do a spring bling pageant. We look for children from 3 to 7, girls from 3 to 7 years old. We have them to come out and, of course, to display their beauty, as well as we have them to answer questions and show their personalities, as well as show their knowledge through a pageant. And that occurs every May. It is hosted at the public main branch of the Huntsville Public Library at 915 Monroe Street. And we'd love to have people to contact us to volunteer, to assist with that fundraiser, to find out if there are tickets that are available, to have children to participate in that pageant. Love to have people to contact us in reference to that, as well as we have many, many other volunteer opportunities.
Right. How do you stay motivated in doing what you do? Because, you know, there are people who parent one child and they're worn out and ready to kind of toss in the towel on a regular basis, but they hang in there time and time again for their love of the children. What's your motivation for doing what you do?
It is the most exciting job you could ever have. When I pull up, no matter what those children are doing, they run to the gate to greet me. I've never worked a job where I've had that experience. My coworkers have never done that. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, today we just applauded one student. He's been with us, he's 4 years old now, and he's been with us since he's been an infant. And he's just started to show all of our effort. He's spelling his name now. We had a birthday at school today, and the little girl had a pen that said "Birthday Girl," and he read the pen. And everybody said, well, he's probably seen that before. It's okay. He's put it together. And if he's able to put that together, he can translate that same information, written print, into something else and recognize that that's making the "b" sound for B. So we see something that phenomenal every day. Something happens that's exciting with children. It doesn't take a long period of time to see some results and to see some positive developmental milestones accomplished.
Are you supported by staff?
Oh, wonderful staff. We have a teacher that teaches Spanish. We have a native Spanish speaker that is instructing the children in Spanish every day. Fabulous group of ladies. It couldn't happen without a team. We have a great team.
And do you all come together and kind of talk about?
Oh yeah, we come together all the time, and I think the fun is that what is kind of motivating us is that we've created the environment that we would have wanted to have as children, and we have the freedom. I tell them it's no limits on what we can do. We don't have a governing body that's telling us that, well, you can't. This is not going to be acceptable. You can't do this. We can invent and make the program the way we want it to be.
All right. Well, tell us in the last 30 seconds or so how people could contact you.
Sure.
By the phone. You may have a website. Tell people how they can get access to you.
They can contact us on Facebook. They can contact us by telephone. They can contact us by our website as well. Our telephone is 256-533-3300. Our email address is dcpp2alcd@yahoo.com. I'll repeat that one again, maybe the number 2. It's 256-533-3300, and that's dcpp2alcd@yahoo.com. And then they can also visit us on Facebook. Right. And we do have, and our web address is on our Facebook as well.
All right, and it's the Academy for Learning and Character Development is where they would find you on Facebook.
Yes.
All right. Dr. Sylvia Collins, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
We hope that you've enjoyed our broadcast today and learned lots about a very valuable resource right here in our community. And we hope that we'll see you again on our next edition of Impact. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to you again soon.